Guys, and welcome to 1.5. In 1.5, we're talking about the addition of real numbers. So what that means is there's going to be a lot of adding negatives. So what does that look like? And in your homework, you're going to be asked to put those on number line. And so if you can do the algebra, then putting your answer on number line is child's play. So um, on number one here, it says 8 plus -5. Well, a plus a negative is the same thing as 8 minus 5. Right? So plus and negative is the same thing as subtraction. So, in certain situations, it makes sense to add a negative instead of just subtracting, which is why we're talking about it. That's why we're having this conversation. But I understand at first it can be a little confusing. Why would you just say subtraction? 8 minus 5. Why would you just say that? It's because we're building to something. Algebra, in particular, tends to build on itself, and we're building to something. And so, just the process right now. Okay. And so, 8 plus -5 is 8 minus 5, which is 3. Okay. Now, here's the kicker. On number one, my signs are different, and a positive and a negative, and so I subtracted. When I have the signs are the same, whether they're both positive or they're both negative, I have to add and keep the sign. So on number two, it says -1 plus -5. Well, they're both negative, so I'm going to add and keep my sign. So that's going to be 1 plus 5 is 6. That's going to be -6. Okay, 1 plus 5, uh, they're both the same sign. So I say 1 plus 5 is 6. They're both negative, so my answer is negative. Here, same thing. You got -12 plus -12. So 12 plus 12 is 24. They're both negative. So it's going to be -24. All right. And you can even do this with decimals or fractions. So on number four, let's do it with decimals. All right. Both sides are the same. So I'm going to add zero point 0.6 and zero point 0.5. It's essentially 11. So that's going to be negative 1.1. Okay. You would carry the one to in front of the decimal if you're adding vertically. So there's that. All right, on five, whenever you see fractions, you want to make sure that if you're adding or subtracting, you need common denominators. In this case, I do, so that's not a problem. Again, my sign is the same, so I'm going to add. But when you add 11 and 14, you get 15. And so this is going to be -15 over 15. But anything over itself is just 1. So my final answer is going to be -1, right? On number six, again, you have opposite signs. You have a -10 and a +5. So here I'm going to subtract and take the sign of the larger number, right? In this case, 10 is the larger number. And so my final answer is going to be negative. So 10 minus 5 is 5. And then because 10 is larger, my answer is negative. Okay. It's a simple process, simple rules to follow. If the signs are the same, you add and keep the sign. If the signs are different, you subtract and take the sign of the larger number. Okay. It's easy, but still a lot of students struggle with it. Take your time, do plenty of problems, and I promise you it will start to stick with you. All right. 8 over 9 plus -2/3. Well, two things here. First of all, we have opposite signs. I have a positive 8/9 and a -2/3. The second thing is I don't have common denominators. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I know that adding a negative is subtraction, so let's go ahead and do that. 8 over 9 minus 2/3. Now, you need a common denominator. Fortunately, 3 goes into 9, so I don't have to touch the first fraction. I just need to adjust the second one. And you multiply 3 times 3 to get 9. So whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And as you can see, 3 over 3 is 1. So essentially multiplying by 1. And anything you multiply by 1 is itself, which is why I can get away with this. So this is going to be 8 over 9 minus 6 over 9, which is 2 over 9. Okay. And there's your answer. Okay. On 8, we have the signs are the same. So I'm going to add, but I do need common denominator. So this is going to be -70, or sorry, -7 over 10 minus 4 over 7. I'm going to give both sides what they need, and I'll multiply this one by 7 over 7, this one by 10 over 10. Right? 7 times 7 is 49. It's going to be -49 over 70 minus 40 over 70. Now I got common denominators, and my signs are the same, so I'm going to add and keep the sign. Uh, so this is going to be -49 plus 40. That's going to be -89 over 70. Now, as we've already said, that plus and negative is the same thing as subtracting. So whether you see a problem like it's written here, or you see it's how it's written here, a negative minus another number, It's the same process. You're adding a negative, right? And as long as both signs are negative, then you're going to add and keep the sign. Okay? And that's my answer. All right. Sometimes you're going to have multiple things you need to do. So you're going to have two. Uh, this is essentially saying 2 minus 5 minus 8. Okay. Um, well, you also know if you look at it a different way, this is going to be 2 plus negative 13 because negative 5 and negative 8, they have the same signs. So I can add and keep the sign. And it might make it easier on you to do that. So 2 plus negative 13, that's the same thing as 2 minus 13, which is negative 11. So because you have three terms and not two like you did before, you can kind of work this in any order that you want to. If you don't care, you can do left to right. But if you, sometimes it works easier to jump around a little bit as long as you're following order of operations, which we'll talk about later on. Number 10, you have like terms, but you have opposite signs. So I'm going to subtract here, and that's going to be negative 13 plus 6, or 6 minus 13, or 13 minus 6, which is 7. And then 13 is bigger, so it's going to be negative. There you go. Don't overcomplicate it. All right, you have a negative 7b and a negative b, so that's going to be a negative 8b. You have an 8 plus negative 4, so it's going to be 8 minus 4. It's going to be negative 8b minus, or excuse me, plus 4. 8 minus 4 is positive 4. So there you go. Okay. On 12, you want to distribute that 7 first. It's going to be 14y plus 42 plus, or excuse me, it's plus a negative. So I'm going to say minus 34y. Okay, I have 14 minus 34. That's going to be negative 20y plus 42. Okay, there we go. And then on 13, this is a special case. You got a lot going on, but essentially it's asking you, is the left side less than, greater than, or equal to the right side? So you don't really know that until you crunch your numbers. So let's work both sides out and we'll figure out what it is at the end. Okay, so this is going to be, order of operations says that you do parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. That's the whole PEMDAS thing. Parentheses can be any grouping symbol. So I'm going to work the inside first. That's going to be 5 plus this 4 minus 17. It's going to be negative 13. Let's see. That's going to be negative 2 plus 5 minus 8 is going to be negative 3. Okay, so 5 plus negative 13 is negative 8. And then negative 2 minus 3 or plus negative 3 is negative 5. All right, clearly they're not the same. All right, which side is bigger? Now the trick is 8 is the bigger number, but when both numbers are negative, you're actually asking which one's closer to 0. Okay, so you have to think of things in terms of number line. And the further things are on the right of the number line, the greater they are. Okay, so that means that negative 5 is greater than negative 8. But it looks weird because 8 is bigger than 5. But you have to remember that we're dealing with negatives. Okay, so for instance, if I had a number line, sorry, if I had a number line, negative 8 would be here, negative 5 would be here. And because 0 is somewhere over here, negative 5 is closer to 0 than negative 8 is. So negative 5 is bigger. All right. All right. Well, thank you for joining me at 1.5. If you have any questions, please reach out and I will see you in the next video.